And I want to ask futuristically, where do you see neuroscience and AI going in impacting our ability? I'm thinking here MRIs, things like that. Could any of these things or AI detect and correct GABA imbalances in the near future?
And I think what it comes down to is when you're looking to enhance the GABA receptor itself, what you want to do ideally, like from a supplementation perspective, is number one, remember that GABA supplements don't work actually. GABA supplements GABA itself is a too big of a molecule to get across into the brain. And as a result of that, if it does work for you, GABA is getting through because you have a leaky blood brain barrier. And that's also called a leaky brain. Now, it sounds scary, but in essence, that just means oftentimes that you have a leaky gut. Leaky gut is when your gut's allowing things into the system that shouldn't get in there. And as a result of that, you're getting more inflammation in the system. And that also it can affect the blood brain barrier and cause a leaky brain. So when you are supplementing to improve GABA levels, you want to be improving them by using compounds that enhance the GABA receptor, but not using GABA itself. So, what you can use there, for example, are things like kava and even some of the cannabinoids like CBD and CBG. These work on the GABA receptor, enhancing the binding of affinity for GABA to bind to that receptor too. But in addition, you also want to use something that's going to bind to the GABA receptor at the GABA site as well. And this is called an obligate pair, which means that you do both at the same time. This is so that even if you're giving something that's safer, like kava or CBD, CBG, something called hanokiol from magnolia bark, these are all binding to the GABA site, the GABA receptor on separate sites. You want to also give them something that's going to replete their GABA levels at the same time. So what I use is something called nicotinol GABA, which is a vitamin B3 attached to the GABA molecule. That makes sure that the B3 gets across the blood-brain barrier no problem, and it takes GABA with it. And then as a result of that, you get mild B3, which is actually mildly activating, which is good in essence, because the GABA itself in the brain is going to help you relax. So you get this sort of calm relaxation without feeling too tired, which is very nice. Another one that I use that binds to the GABA site of the GABA receptor as well is called agarin. Agarin is from a psychedelic mushroom called the Amanita muscaria mushroom. And what's really cool about this particular compound is it's non-psychedelic. And so the Amanita mushroom is well known as like in Santa Claus mythology. It's well known in like for Alice in Wonderland and Mario Brothers, very famous mushroom, known to be psychedelic because it had another ingredient in it called ibotenic acid, which is actually neurotoxic. But the agarin works on the GABA receptor at the site where GABA would bind. And so you put that in there at the same time as you use something like hanokiol, which is increasing the receptor binding affinity for GABA itself so that you already have this combination. And so as a result, you don't deplete GABA over time. You decrease the risk of withdrawal with tolerance, with dependence, and you can use very low doses for long periods of time and significant impact. So the key with enhancing the GABA receptor is that you're doing both. You're enhancing it by giving it something that supports on that allosteric site, so it binds to the GABA receptor, not where GABA is binding, but on another site. And then you're also enhancing the GABA site because you're giving something like GABA, like nicotinol GABA, vitamin B3 attached, or the agarin. So I give that preamble, John, because when you're looking at AI, when you're looking at how we're going to use this kind of system to enhance and understand and diagnose GABA deficiency, the key is with AI always, and this is I know this very well because one of the guys, one of my mentors and the founder of the companies that I work with is one of the founders or like one of the early guys in AI back in the 80s and 90s. The most important thing about AI not only is it the algorithm itself, but also the inputs, the prompts, as it were, that you're using to create the AI system. Without prompts, you're not going to have a great AI output. When you're thinking about diagnosing or enhancing the GABA system, you have to know what the inputs are going to be to create the ecosystem in the body that you're going to allow the most optimal recovery of the GABA system in this capacity. So, for me, the way I see AI working is that you're going to be able to look at multiple different inputs at the same time, knowing what those inputs are, at least in essence, and then having algorithms that are trained on what's happening cellularly in various types of permutations to know what may be going on. Then you can take those permutations along with the inputs that you created and the prompts, and then you have an output that's going to be fantastic. Especially, John, when you're not only looking at one subset of data, but you're looking at multiple sets of data. And the way I think about this is that right now everybody knows about the genome, right? Everybody knows about genomics, but we have genomics, we have transcriptomics, we have proteomics, we have metabolomics. These are all various levels of expression of our DNA. We have epigenomics as well. We have so many others. And then we have the capacity with AI soon to be able to, excuse me, to crunch all this data and find ways to be able to harness it to create significant change in the system, knowing, of course, how to prompt the data beforehand to make sure that we're getting things that make sense. That's the key. It's not only just the data itself, but it's the prompting that is so important.